then you can say that one of the major questions of the book is about love. Is the strongest love found in the ability to renounce it? And first, what could you diss for that, for love, and what is your relationship with this question with love?
Well, I mean, my relationship with it is immaterial. It's what's in the book, So I wouldn't know how to answer the relationship in the book, because if I could say those things, then I wouldn't have the need to write a book. I would be able to just send a telegram. But I think that the question that's set up in the Yeats play, that is a certain amount of source material for the story, The Only Jealousy of Emer. It's a W.B. Yeats play. There is the wager or the question of that sacrificial love is Jesus-like in a way, or Christian, of giving up your love in order to save the one you love, in a way. And I found that to be, a very romantic question. We all watch, what passes for romance these days, and I just thought this had a lot of blood in it. It had actual life and death in it, rather than, what we're used to saying or reading.
And I have a question about the character. And the question is, you write with a woman as main character, and you describe his life and his usual life.
That's okay.
Yes, of course, our life, of course. And I wonder.
You have trouble with pronouns here too.
I just wonder how you deal to make this story with a woman point of view, including
harassment, sexual
harassment in the subway.
Oh, right. It's not really sexual harassment. It's just like life as usual in a big city. I'm sure you have it here, just men taking up too much space or whatever. But it did become a thing in New York City in around 2014. They talked about man-spreading. It was a stupid moment in our cultural history, and so it's just a matter of women negotiating public places. A crowded city, being on a subway is always fraught for a woman, I think, especially when it's crowded. When the book came out, I talked about, or I was asked about having a female character, a voice, writing from inside the head of a woman, and did I have the right to do that, and things like that. And my approach is I'm trying to write a human first, and then the sex, the body is the surface, and the true truth of the interior is the human, not the male, not the female, the human. And then from there, try to be as honest and as perceptive as I can be, or as empathetic, or as to project my own kind of awareness into what a woman might go through certain times. And try to, just try to feel my way through.
Okay, then we can say that it's a very ambitious novel, with a link with like a mythology, a lot of references. Why did you choose that, and why? What is the ambition with this type of writing?
Well, I saw a chance to write a love story, as we talked about before, but to kind of, if the story is like a coat, what was going to be the coat hanger? What was that coat going to hang on? And I like the idea of it being religious or mythological or spiritually profound, and then it was fun also to, once I decided that the gods were alive and in New York, it all started to make sense, because here New York, well, much of the world is all mixed up now. That's the way it is, which is great. But New York is historically the melting pot, you know, where all countries have come together. And the idea that all these gods and entities would have come over with the other people from other parts of the world was very interesting to me and fun to write, fun to research, you know.
So you research a lot for this? Or
I mean, I don't know what a lot is because I just do my own thing. But I had a researcher. I would just send him to, you know, find me. Is there anything interesting, you know, in this culture? You know, just give me like some stories, some myths, some demons, some gods in this culture, and then I would, you know, sift through them just very selfishly and say, oh, that's an interesting one that I can play with. So there's no kind of program of like which is the best gods or which, you know, it's just like what fits my story best and how I can kind of get them all in kind of contention and opposition with one another.
And the presence of gods puts a kind of historical of New York, and in the same way there is many modern concern. I note some of them, such as trigger warning. I just read a thing about trigger warning saying, be careful what you write, what you say, and there is a discussion about the black crow. Oh, we don't have to say black. What are your vision today?
I don't understand that. What was that?
When there is the discussion with the crow, Ern talk about the black crow and
crows are black. I mean, it's
yes, and there is students that say we must not say black because
totally forgot.
It's a very good novel. You should.
Yes. What is your vision of our society on this subject today? Is it a fear that we cannot say anything?
I mean, I don't want to talk. I'm afraid to talk about it. I mean, it's not an interesting conversation. You know, writers have not only the opportunity, but they have the duty to write everything. And a safe place is actually the most dangerous place. A safe place is where your ideas are challenged, where your ideas are you know, brought into opposition with other ideas. So that's what I consider to be a safe place, a safe society where everything can be said, and we bring it out into the open, and the best ideas win. The fairest ideas win. The most truthful ideas win. You know, I mean, yeah, we're suffering through a time right now where bullshit is winning a lot because of social media, and we haven't really figured out how to define truth versus ridiculous fiction in that area, and that's the dangerous part of it. But this is not social media. These are books. This is a different technology. This is an older technology. This is a better technology. So there is a lot to be said for trying to figure out how to talk on social media where everybody's anonymous and kind of speaking behind screens, and nobody is forced to fact check or anything like that. So that's a whole different thing. But in terms of ideas and in terms of language, I think everything's fair game in a novel.
Maybe we can discuss about the literary influences of this novel, if there is, and maybe for your own experience with your life in New York. That's all.
Yeah. Well, obviously Yeats. You know, I mean, that's the literal influence in terms of part of the story. But oddly, it's a Yeats play, and I don't think Yeats is very influential as a playwright. It's not even a producible play if you've read it. It's more like a poem. But I happen to have seen it when I was in graduate school. That's the only reason I know it. I wouldn't have read it, but I found myself at a student production of this play, and I was struck by the wager, the contest, the romantic wager, and it stayed with me forever. So that's an obvious influence.
Did you play it?
No, I wasn't an actor yet. I was in graduate school for English literature, And so we had, I'm thinking of, I think I was very into Samuel Beckett at the time. And I feel like there's a certain kind of existential humor, you know, a dark humor that is Beckett-like. Beckett, of course, so interestingly wrote originally in French, even though that was not his first language, and then translated himself back into English. I could not do that. So maybe Beckett. I'm trying to think of what I was thinking about in terms of influence. I can't think of anything else really. But
Fantasy, Francis, or not? Fantasy also?
What's that?
Fantasy also?
Yeah, fantasy. Yeah, I think there's certain kinds of once I opened up into the book, having gods, supposing that these entities are real, then it opened up into fantasy, and I think it's very interesting to take New York and open it up into fantasy because it's such a literal, concrete and steel city. I think it's rare that you would, set a fantasy in a modern city, in a big city. So that was fun to be able to do. And then as you asked, my own experience having grown up in New York, it's very in me. I don't need to research that. It was fun to be able to sit down to write, and I had access to any place I wanted in my story, just in my head. I didn't have to go there. So I could write about Central Park, and I could write about Queens, and I could write about Brooklyn. And it was right there at my fingertips. So I think, yes, in that sense, my own personal history informs the book. I wrote a book called Truly Like Lightning after this.
Yes, after this.
Yeah, just after this, and I thought I was going to have to set it in a place where there are a lot of Mormons, the Mormon religion, and I was afraid I was going to have to go spend some time in Salt Lake City, and I don't like researching. I just like to write. And then I found out that there was a big Mormon population in San Bernardino, which is very close to Los Angeles. So I was like, oh, I know LA, so I can write this. So similar to that, all of a sudden the places were in my head, and then I can write to the place. Yes, exactly, in a way that I don't know any. Like if I had to write a book that was set in Paris, I would have to be here. I can't make it up, I don't know anything about it.
Well, call me. What's the last question?
If it's the last question, I will not. I will ask just a question about your show yesterday. What was it for you?
We loved it. My guitarist thought that was the best show we ever played, and it was his favorite show. And I thought the crowd was just great because, I'm always kind of split when I'm up there because I want people to have a good time. So I'm goofing around up there, and I'm trying to get people to stand up and sing along, clap, whatever. But I also want them to listen to the music. I think the music, the lyrics and the songs stand up. And I got the feeling like I was getting both last night. Like usually I get one or the other. Like people are listening and they're not kind of grooving, or they're just partying. And last night I felt like they were partying but they were listening, and that's for me that's perfect.
We enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
I think
when we play Paris, I think Paris fans are different than other fans. They really appreciate the artist, so there's a person up there that does a lot of different things, and there's just a good time. Like when we played last time, it had that same feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Plus I wrote a song about Sacré-Cœur, so.
Can I ask myself just one question about the book?
Yeah.
Can we say that it's an anti-Trump book?
Oh, anti-Trump. Well, I mean,
Yes,
I wouldn't say. No, I wouldn't say that. I would say.
Written, to fight his ideas.
Sure.
In a certain way, because you celebrate the melting pots.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't honor Trump by giving him an idea. He doesn't have an idea.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a Trump idea. The guy is idealess.
Waste.
He has no idea. So I'd rather not even have him as a foe. Sure, I'm irritated by him and fatigued and in despair that he's still around. But there is nothing to fight against. There is no program. There's no idea.
I'm frightened
There-
he's going to win the next.
Sure, we're all frightened.
Welcome to America.
We're all frightened. But
in Europe we have this kind of stuff too. No?
yes, yeah.
Yes,
I mean, unfortunately,
don't
it's
elect them
well in Hungary they did, and you know,
in Hungary.
and
yes.
Brexit, and you've had
Yes.
a lot of problems here with the same kind of movements. You just don't have a moron in chief
No.
yet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Yes,
David.
it's a real pleasure and fun since.
Oh, thank you.